morning, everybody. Welcome. This is the informational webinar for the America250 grant program. So take a minute, make sure you're in the right place. This is the program that we're going to be talking about today. Would ask folks to keep your speakers muted, your microphone muted. We will have an opportunity to unmute and ask questions at the end, but would also encourage folks to, if you've got questions as we go on, please drop them in the chat, and there will be a time for questions at the end. So again, welcome. This is the America250 grant program, and I am trying to move my slide and it does not want to do it. So hang on, just there we go. Sorry, little technical difficulties at the top. So my name is Maya Michelson. I'm the executive director of the Indiana Arts Commission, and I'm joined by Eric Ashby, our director of programs. You'll also hear from Britt Freckman at the end, toward the end of the webinar, to talk a little bit about the online grant portal and how to access the application and technical information you need in that space. So a little bit about the program, assuming I can forward my, let's see, let's try again. Next slide. I'm having difficulties here. Fantastic. Thank you. A little bit about accessibility. If you need accommodations for the guidelines for the grant or the application, please get in touch with our accessibility coordinator. You can see the email there as well as the phone number. And if you need help with captions or accessibility for this webinar, please send a direct message via chat to Andre Zangsanera, who is also on the webinar, as well as Connie Brom, our communications director. A little bit about us. I'm guessing if you're here, maybe you know about us already, but in case not, we are an agency of state government, and our funding comes from the Indiana General Assembly and the National Endowment for the Arts. A core component of our commitment to investing in the state's vibrant and rich arts and culture sector are grants, which enrich people and communities through arts organizations and arts projects. Next slide. All right, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to tell you a little bit about the program. We're going to talk about who's eligible. We will share a little bit about the program timeline, tell you about grant awards, grantee requirements and reporting, a bit about the grant evaluation process and criteria. Britt will do a demo of the online grant system, and then we'll have a few moments at the end for questions. Again, if you've got questions, anytime, just drop them in the chat. We will, again, open up the floor for questions at the end of the webinar. All right, a little bit about the program. Unless you've been maybe hiding under a rock, you probably know next year is America's semi-quincentennial. So in anticipation of celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the IC is accepting applications for arts projects in any discipline that celebrate American history and connect participants to it. Funding for this grant program comes from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Indiana General Assembly. This is a one-time program. We will be offering this program this year, but not again. Program goals: to celebrate American history. Also, to provide Indiana's people and communities access to arts and experiences. And we have two outcomes for this program that we're looking for. First, Hoosiers celebrate, learn, and reflect on American history through the arts. And Indiana's arts providers have expanded opportunities to enhance the quality of life in their communities. Two pretty simple goals, two pretty simple outcomes. Here's who's eligible for this program: not-for-profit 501c3 arts organizations in any discipline, and then other 501c3 nonprofit entities that provide arts programming, such as social service organizations, Main Street entities, local units of government, cities, towns, townships, public libraries, public and private schools from pre-K through 12th grade, and colleges and universities. Really broad eligibility, applicant eligibility for this program. Couple of caveats to eligibility, slightly different than our arts project support. If you are currently receiving arts organization support from the IEC, you are eligible for this opportunity. That isn't always the case. Sometimes when you receive AOS funds from us through the AOS program, you're not eligible for other opportunities. You are eligible for this opportunity. I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. All applicants must have a valid, unique entity identifier through sam.gov by the application deadline. Why do you need that? Because there are federal funds in this program. And to receive federal funds, either as a sub-grantee or a direct grantee, you must have a unique entity identifier, and that is accessible through sam.gov. I want to be clear. Full sam.gov registration is a much more involved process. We are not asking you to register for full sam.gov registration. We're just asking you to get a unique entity identifier. If you have questions about how to do that, we can contact the email that we will be sharing at the end of the webinar, and we can kind of help you walk through it. It's a pretty simple process, doesn't take very long, but you must have a UEI before you submit your application. If you are already an arts organization support recipient, you already have one, so you don't need to worry about that. And some of our arts project support or other grantees have one as well. But if you do not, then you will need to get that before you submit an application. Physically sponsored applicants are not eligible. That's slight change from our arts project support program, but that is, we are not allowing physically sponsored applicants for this program. Another note for arts organization support grantees, you should propose a project not already on your season or already part of your annual programming to be most competitive. Okay, I'm going to state that one more time so that you catch it. If you're an arts organization support grantee, you should propose something, a new thing, something that is not already on your season or not part of your already planned programming to be the most competitive. Okay. Additional program eligibility. Nonprofit organizations must be incorporated with the state of Indiana at the time of application and for the duration of the grant period. That's pretty common standard practice for us in our grants making work. Organizations must also be physically located in Indiana. We will take no comers from Ohio or Illinois or Kentucky. You got to be in Indiana to apply for this program. And the majority of program services or activities must take place in Indiana and serve and engage Indiana audiences and participants. We know some of you border communities, border arts organizations have folks from Illinois or Ohio that sneak across the border and come to your things, and that's fine. But we want the benefit of the program to be primarily for the folks in Indiana. Program timeline. Program has opened for applications. Those of you who have been paying attention know that it opened last week. The applications are due on Monday, December 15th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pretty common for us if you've applied with us before. Funding notification will go out by Monday, February 16th, 2026. And the grant period is from March 1st, 2026 to December 31st of this year, next year, sorry. And just as a reminder, this is a one-time only program. And again, because the grant period is through December 31st, project activities will need to have concluded by December 31st because it is a semi-quincentennial celebrating program. So any extensions and so forth won't be possible. Final grant report is due Friday, January 15th, 2027 by 11:59 p.m. ET. So that's a little bit about the program timeline. Again, it's pretty truncated, but again, based on the number of folks who've already started applications, we know that there are a lot of great ideas out there. Current grant award amount, you may request up to $5,000. No matching funds are required, so the project can be, the cost of the project can be $5,000, or they can be more if you have additional match funds to add to the project budget. Those folks recommended for funding will receive the full amount requested. So if you are funded, you will receive the full amount you have requested, and you are eligible to be paid in full at the beginning of the grant period and we issue those funds via direct deposit. This is a very prestigious opportunity. Because it's America 250, we're limiting the number of projects we are funding. We expect to fund around 12 applications across the state. So very prestigious, limited opportunity for folks, but we're very excited to be able to offer this in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm done with my section. I'm going to pass it on to Eric Ashby, our Director of Programs, to take you through the rest of the webinar, and then I will be back at the end to answer some questions that you might have.
Thanks, Maya. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. Going to go through some of the real exciting pieces of this presentation around grantee requirements. And as Maya mentioned at the beginning, if questions are coming up as we're going through some of this, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll have time at the end. So a couple grantee requirements: if you are to receive funds from the Indiana Arts Commission, must be in good standing with the state of Indiana, the Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts. In the grant guidelines, there are links to the requirements and policies for Indiana Arts Commission grantees. Highly encourage that you read that entire document before applying, and certainly if you are awarded funds, making sure you are aware of those, as grantees must follow those requirements. Additionally, if funded in the program, you will be required to publicly acknowledge funding support through the use of the Arts Commission and the National Endowment for the Arts logos and other forms of acknowledgement, which could be mentioning the organizations that made programming possible if you're giving introductions or opening remarks, something like that. So that is also a requirement. And then additionally, if you are funded, just like all of our other grant programs, there is a binding contract grant agreement with the state of Indiana that outlines all of the requirements, policies, and things that I just mentioned. See if I can advance. There we go. Okay, eligible expenses. Just like any grant program, this has eligible and ineligible expenses. And I did want to highlight a few ineligible expenses that are here, which include food and beverage, cash awards and prizes, which include gift cards, and fundraising events are all not eligible expenses. This is not an exhaustive list. You can see the full list in that policy document I referenced earlier, which is again linked in the guidelines. The Arts Commission does reserve the right to request documentation of grant expenditures and may conduct spot audits to ensure that expenses were spent on eligible expenses and that there was policy compliance in place for the funded project. The Arts Commission also is able to request a site visit to learn more about the funded project and use of funds, which is why it's really important to have record retention and tax responsibilities all taken care of. Just as a reminder, grantees must keep all grant-related records for 3 years from the date of the submission of the final report. There are also federal and state policies and laws that must be adhered to, and some of those include the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as federal civil rights, and there are others. You will see them all in your grant contract if you are funded, and you'll also see some of those in the policy document that I keep referencing. Final reporting. There will be a final report with this program, as Maya mentioned, due in January of 2027. And that final report will cover 4 basic things, which is the number of people served by the program, the location where the project or projects, if there were multiple pieces to this, took place, the impact of the grant, what happened, telling kind of the story of the project impact, and then the final budget and reconciling of costs, which would include how IAC funds were used. The evaluation process has 3 criteria pieces, and applications will all be evaluated by how well they meet these 3 criteria, which are artistic quality, America 250 celebration and connection, project management, and feasibility. And the evaluation criteria and the scoring rubric are all linked in the guidelines and the application as well. So you can see those documents. And I should also note that we are recording this webinar, and the slide deck and the webinar will also be linked in the application in the next day or 2 following this. So you'll have access to all this material for reference later on. This breaks down those three criteria points a little bit further. So projects will be evaluated on the extent to which the project in the artistic quality section demonstrates artistic excellence and artistic merit. In the America 250 celebration and connection criteria piece is the extent to which the project celebrates American history and connects its audience to that American history. And then lastly, in the project management and feasibility section, it looks at the extent to which the project details spending that's aligned with the project description and provides a defined and feasible timeline for project activities. So there are 5 key sections to the application, and you'll see that application here in a second when I hand it over to my colleague Britt. But the first section, and if you've been an applicant for Arts Commission grants before, will look very similar. It is the before you begin section that includes the links to all the things, the guidelines, the criteria, the rubric, the policy document. All those things are all linked there. The webinar will be linked there as well. That should have all the information you need about the program. The second section is some overview information around the discipline of the artistic discipline of the organization, the artistic discipline of the project, the dates of the project, and then it moves into the pieces that are the core of the evaluation criteria, which I just went through. So section 3, artistic quality, there will be a narrative question asking you to describe the project in full, just giving us a complete picture of what that looks like. There will be a space to talk about who the artistic personnel are that are involved in delivering the project. And then there is an optional artistic documentation section where you can put a link or upload a document to help to demonstrate artistic quality and alignment with this project proposal. Section 4 focuses on America 250 celebration and connection. There's a narrative question that gives you space to talk about how the project activities connect to American history in the 250s. It also asks about who the project is intended to serve and what they will experience and take away from that project. Just 2 narrative questions there. And then finally is just the budget and the timeline for the project. And that's it. So all of these are submitted through the IAC online system. Applications must be submitted through there unless there is an accessibility related accommodation connected to that. You must create an account and be logged in to fill out and complete an application. And so I am going to stop screen share here in a second and hand it over to Britt, who's our data and grant systems manager, to show you how to navigate to this grant application in the IAC online system. So I'm going to stop the share here and hand it over to Britt.
Hi, everyone. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can we see this? Okay.
Yes.
So if you've already created an account in our system, this will be very familiar to you, but let's say that you just created your account for the first time. And this is what the home page looks like in Foundant. And so in order to find the application, you have 2 options, but the easiest will be to just click apply. If you also clicked the see opportunities, that would take you to the exact same page. But we'll click apply here. And then here on the right, you'll see our America 250 project grant. And so you can just click on this apply button here. And this is what your application is going to look like. And as you go through it, if you want to make it easier for yourself, you can pull these sections together. And then you'll go through every single section. And then you just need to make sure to hit submit. Now, if you take some time to work on the application, you always have the option to save and come back to your work. Yeah. And it's pretty standard. Make sure that you review all of the guidelines and everything that are going to be listed here on the first page, like Eric was talking about. I have the space for our recording, which will be placed there, and all of the guidelines that are linked are current and up to date. And that's all from me.
Thanks so much, Britt.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing. Okay.
Alrighty, I will we share, and in that application as well, there's a button you can PDF it if you want to see the application and print it out. There's an option to do that in the top right of the application as well. Alrighty. So a couple recommendations before you start, reiterating what Britt just said, reviewing all the materials in their entirety before starting, very important. And as you complete the application, being clear and thorough in the narrative responses, answering each question. Some of the narratives ask there are a couple components to the question. So making sure each component is answered, and certainly providing details to support claims or assertions regarding who's going to be served or how they're going to be engaged is really important to support the claims made in the application. And then lastly, avoiding assumptions that reviewers already know your organization or know the artistic personnel or know of the project already is really important to help paint a complete picture of what's going to happen. That will be really important in making a competitive application for the program. So here are the contact information. If you've got questions beyond the webinar, specific project questions, we're happy to work with you on that. Emailing the grants team here at grantsadmin@iac.in.gov, and we will make sure you get a response promptly. Additionally, as mentioned at the top, if you have any accessibility accommodations or questions, either related to the application process or for the project itself, please reach out to accessibility@iac.in.gov. We'll be sure to get those answered as well. And that is all we have. So we can open the floor to some questions.